good NBA topics to get into today. We're going to obviously jump into the Bill Russell announcement from the NBA. They're going to be retiring number 6. A little bit of Durant drama, plus we actually got some, I wouldn't call them leaks, but early information on potential games that we will get for next year. First game, Christmas games. So we will jump into that as well as a little NBA Wordle. But let's start with the big news of Bill Russell getting number 6 retired. Now, the NBA made that announcement the other day and said that the number 6 going into next season, if the player is already wearing it, they're going to be grandfathered in. Although, do you feel like it would be kind of messed up to not change your number at that point?
No, not at all. Because I think so. The precedent for this, because this is obviously the first time in the NBA that a player, as I am dropping my phone on the ground. Wow, we're off to a great start here. Whew. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the precedent for this is obviously this is the first in the NBA. But we have 3 athletes across the 4 major American sports that have their jerseys retired everywhere. Baseball retired, Jackie Robinson's
Yeah.
42. And hockey's retired, Wayne Gretzky's 99. So in the case with Jackie, when he got his retired, because that was in the late 90s, if I remember correctly, Mariano Rivera was still wearing 42. Obviously, the legendary Yankees closer, probably the greatest closer of all time, Hall of Famer, and he finished it with the rest of his career. And that's kind of the way now is like, I don't think anyone could have anticipated this. So I
Sure.
think you will see some guys change because of that. And just because guys change jersey numbers anyway. But for somebody
Well,
like LeBron James, obviously, most notably, for example, if he was obviously he went from 6 to 23 and now back to 6 here in LA. I don't see him changing over this again. Like, I think he will finish his career at 6. Maybe if he goes to another franchise for some reasons, then he changes. But at least with his Lakers tenure, he will. With somebody like, because you have the full list. I mean, who else is on this? I know Alex Caruso is another one with Chicago,
yeah.
so maybe he does. Like, he's somebody that maybe isn't married to that
Apparently,
number.
Apparently, according to this list, now I haven't had a chance to check it, so we'll have to kind of like vet it out as we go. DeAndre Jordan also has 6, according to this.
Okay.
Jalen McDaniels for the Hornets, Caruso, like you were saying, Kristaps Porzingis. And so like what I was wondering is, does it also depend on like kind of where you stand in the hierarchy of the NBA? Like if you're a star, fine, don't change it. But and this is no dig at Porzingis, DeAndre Jordan, Caruso, but maybe you're a tier below that, where it's more like, hey man, how many jersey sales are you actually doing? So you could probably change your number. I understand they'll have like some people have that significant value to that number. Maybe it's been their number the whole time. So I'm not saying that. It just feels like if I were a player and not of a star stature and they just retired 6, I would feel a little pressure to potentially change.
I guess. I don't know. Like, I think because it's going to get happen over time. But if you've had it for a couple of years, like, I don't think it's in poor taste. Put it that way. I don't think
Sure.
anyone is going to look at you sideways if you're still wearing number 6 next year. Um, but in terms of Bill Russell, I mean, it speaks obviously to the pioneer that he was. We talked about that when he passed. If you want to hear our legacy thoughts on Bill Russell, go
Yeah.
back a couple episodes and check that out. But it is kind of fitting if there was someone that this would happen for in the NBA, because the debate has been Jordan too, of course, with 23. Like, I think a lot of people have debated should MJ have that retired because it's such an iconic number. With Bill Russell, I think it's just because of the off the court stuff too, obviously. Like, not only was he such a trailblazer, I mean, there is no Michael Jordan or any of the greats in the 80s and even the 70s without Bill Russell. Like, he really did set the stage for a lot of this, and then all his off the court stuff, all the trailblazing with in terms of coaching as well, being the first black head coach in the NBA, and even just with the college athletics, being a first part of the all black lineup, and
Hmm.
there are so many firsts for Bill Russell that it does feel like if there is one that you're going to retire, because I mean, plus all the winning is there too, of course, with 11 rings,
Right.
but it does feel like I think this is a fitting honor for Bill Russell. I don't know because it is. I mean, it's the greatest honor in sports to have your number retired by everybody. I mean, obviously, Bill's number 6 has been retired by Boston for quite a long time. And so we'll see what happens. I don't think I think MJ is probably the only other one where I could see that happening for right now, at least, because he and 23 are so iconic. Obviously, he was such a big global ambassador, but for Bill Russell, yeah, it was the fact that he was the trailblazer on and off the court. So it completely makes sense to retire that around the league. And it is a way to honor these guys who,
Yeah,
I mean, let's put it bluntly, like, forget even, there are just so many reasons that obviously the racism being the biggest one, but there are a number of reasons where being the NBAs in the 1960s were a whole lot less glamorous than it is now. And the success and the the first class transportation and all these amenities that the NBA has provided now in this global league that it's become are because of these guys. So yeah, I mean, of course, that'll always make sense to me.
yeah. Do you think they retire more numbers going forward? I know you mentioned MJ, but do you think they kind of do more?
MJ's the only one I can think of right now. I don't think if you're gonna go back and retroactively do it, I just don't know who it would be. Because obviously there's still we talked about that stat that still kind of blows my mind. Like I think only five NBA MVPs total have passed away, and one of them is
Hmm.
Kobe. So obviously in a tragedy there. Um, there aren't so there are still a number of greats who we are gonna lose at one point, right?
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
Oscar Robertson is still alive, for example. Jerry West is obviously still alive. Magic and Larry are still alive. And so we're going to lose greats like that. But if you talk about the early days in the true formation of the league, I mean, you always do. You go back to Bill and Wilt, right? Like it was the rivalry. It was the two
Hmm.
7-footers going at it, breaking all sorts of records. But I think everyone without a doubt would argue or would say that Bill Russell off the court for sure. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't want to downplay Wilt's, what he was involved in as well. I'm not suggesting he wasn't, but I mean, Bill Russell was known for that. Like he was
Hmm.
really in the trenches, front and center in the civil rights movement when it was dangerous to be
Yeah.
black and involved in the civil rights movement back then. So, yeah, I mean, I think it makes a ton of sense. And I do. I think he paved the way for all those other greats to come after. MJ is the only other one because MJ was just such a global icon. I think that the NBA has never seen. Um, I mean, LeBron were 23, so they're not gonna, I mean, maybe they do weird some thing, but he had the 6-2 for so long with LA and Miami that it's hard for me to think he's that as well. That's the only other one that stands out for me right now. What about, I mean, do you think there's anybody else?
No, I kind of was. So I get the whole retiring league wide thing, but like at the end of the day, when you have those rivalry, like teams that were knocked out of the playoffs by Bill, probably are a little like salty about, like there's gonna be
Ah,
that
you
saltiness.
nah, you gotta respect it. It is
I
what it is
agree.
at this point.
I agree, but
I
I'm sure
mean,
there's some level of that. Like if I'm trying to
oh,
think,
what
I
for
don't.
like for the Lakers? Like
Yeah, I
Lakers
mean,
beat them all the time. I mean, Jerry West only got one ring because of Bill Russell,
I
essentially.
know.
I mean, in the Sixers case, because they're the other. I mean, the Lakers are always obviously the number one Boston rival historically. The Sixers are
Right.
two, I would say. And I mean, they already have. I mean, we already have six retired. We have retired for Dr. J. So in
Yeah.
that case, it's not
It's like
nothing
already
changing
gonna
on that
happen
front.
anyway. Yeah,
Bill Russell, you have to respect Bill Russell again because of the off the court stuff. Like, put
I
the
agree.
rivalry aside, like put basketball away. It's what he did for society as a whole. Like that's his biggest contribution.
Yeah, I agree, and even if you were rivals or your team was going up against a Bill Russell, you look back and you can still acknowledge that greatness that you had to go up against, I think, too. And you see that a lot in general, like we saw with The Last Dance, a lot of guys were going back and acknowledging how crazy it was that Jordan was doing what he did and the Bulls were doing what they did, and how talented they were, and how many great talents didn't win because of how talented they were. So
Yeah,
I think that's a big part of it too.
100%. But let's play Pirtle on a happy. I mean, Bill Russell getting his six retired is a happier note. I don't want to make that sad. Obviously, it was sad when he passed, but that is a celebration in the aftermath and continued honor of his legacy. But back by popular demand, round two. It's still summertime, so we're going to play some Pirtle, which of
Yeah, let
course
me.
is the NBA version of Wordle. Justin's loading it up right now. We got
There we
8
go.
guesses. Last episode, it was Brooke Lopez. And by the way, this is a good reminder if you want to watch us play Pirtle and guess, like obviously you'll hear us playing this out,
Guess
but if
along
you
with
want to
us.
watch
Yeah.
us play it and guess along with us, you can always do that on the YouTube page right now. Search Driving Dish NBA podcast. But all All right, here we go. I guess show the silhouette first. That's how you start the game off,
Oh, yeah, I
and then
keep
we'll go
forgetting
from
about
there.
that.
I know
Silhouette.
it's a huge advantage. If you just throw any player out there, that's kind of wild. And I guess it is harder to a difficulty because I'm sitting here now already and I see the silhouette and I feel like I have an answer.
You
Where like
do?
before I would have been like, yeah, I have no idea. I think
Well,
that's Al
the
Horford.
oh, yeah, it kinda does look like Al Horford.
It looks like I'm telling you, watch. If this is see, that's the thing I worry about. This is kind of no fun if we go 1-8. I'm saying. I know that head shape anywhere. I've seen the picture for years.
For those on the podcast, we got
Oh
it.
my
We got it
god.
in the
It is
first
Al
try.
Horford. It looked
That's
exactly like his head.
hilarious.
So maybe we shouldn't do the silhouette if we're gonna do this. I guess that would have made it a lot harder to get to Al Horford
Oh my
eventually.
gosh. And you know what's funny is when you told me to pull up the silhouette, I was thinking like in my mind, I was like, I definitely have seen this like figure before, but I wasn't able to put Al
Just
Horford
watched
to
him in
it.
the finals. Like he was
Yeah.
in the starting
That
lineup. I was seeing
that
that head every night.
that figure gives Sixers fans nightmares, man.
Look,
I'll tell you what.
well, Al Horford is the Sixers franchise fault. That's not his fault. I genuinely don't blame Al Horford for his Philly
Oh,
tenure
no, no,
being
no. I
bad.
mean it. I mean it from a standpoint of somehow he's able to lock down Joel Embiid. What was that? 2 years ago? 3
Oh
years
no, that was a
ago?
while ago, dude. That was like 4 years ago now.
Oh
It's
my
crazy,
god,
bro. Time's
really?
a flat circle. Listen, the pandemic happened. So wait, we can get a new mystery player in 12 minutes. So why don't we come back to this?
Oh, really? Is
Um,
that what that said?
yeah, it said that at the bottom.
Oh,
So
I
we'll
think
play
that's
this
are
for
you sure that's
real.
not 12 hours?
I hope not.
I think that's
Oh
12
my god,
hours.
it might be 12 hours. Oh, we
Yeah.
blew it. Oh, good lord. All right, well, sorry guys. We were gonna play Pirtle.
We're too
Uh
damn good at it.
yeah,
Oh my
we
gosh,
owe
that's hilarious.
you. Next time we will do it and not have the silhouette where we will really throw one out in the dark
Do
because
they have
yeah,
like
it kind of gave it away this time around.
yeah, I was wondering if they had like a retired NBA player
Oh, well,
Wordle
that's what I
game.
figured it might be at one point, right? Because it's like I could feel like I could reasonably get most NBA players eventually right now. Though last year was kind of hard because if you start throwing in the guys who were, were all on the 10 days and the expanded rosters
Oh
because of
yeah.
COVID, like you do have more guys that suited up for franchises than ever, pretty much across the board. But yeah, I mean, if it's every player ever, yeah, obviously we could start getting in the woods real fast. You pull,
Well,
yeah, I can't say I'm super versed on the 1959 St. Louis Hawks roster, but we that might really really challenge us. I don't know. I know they made a version of actual Wordle that's a little bit harder when they start doing bigger words than because what's Wordle 5
Wordle is
or
5.
5 letters? Yeah,
5
so it would
letters,
be
yeah.
yeah, and so they've done I know expanded versions of it where it's like you start getting to 7 and 8
I've
for people who really have like read the
have you done,
thesaurus. Maybe you're an English major.
have you done Hurdle yet? I've actually really enjoyed that one.
Oh, that's a song one, right?
Yeah, hold on, I'll pull it up because I actually haven't done, today's, and we don't have to do it, but it's kind of literally it gives you 1 second of the intro of each song. I'll see if my
That's
mic
fun. Hurdle's
can pick it
fun.
up. Let's see. Oh, it's Coldplay. Yellow? No.
No,
You
no way that's yellow.
it's Coldplay. Coldplay. It might be
Is
yellow.
it?
I think it is.
I don't think it's
Well,
yellow.
let's see. No, it's not. It's Coldplay, right? Dun, 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 dun. I can change, I
No, no,
can
no, no, no.
change, I
That's oh my god. That's Bittersweet Symphony, isn't it?
it's got oh, the Verve.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, yeah.
yes. Yep, we got it. What?
Yeah, dude, we're good. We're cooking. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, no, it sounds a little Coldplay. Yellow's slow. Yellow's
Yeah, it sounds
mellow,
Cold what
mellow
was the
yellow.
Coldplay song I was thinking of? Maybe the
What,
Verve
like
and
Viva La
Coldplay just kinda
Vida?
sim
Because that's one of the ones
maybe.
that's more booming, right? Like one that
Yeah.
sounds like you got a whole orchestra in the background and you're about to like blast off on a rocket ship.
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
exactly. Well,
that
they're
that type of Coldplay.
when I interviewed them, subtle flex,
Big
when I
flex. No, 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 that's a big flex. You
when
talk
I
about it.
when I interviewed Chris Martin, I was asking him like, what's the thought process behind your music and touring and all that stuff? And he's like, the music just kind of like writes itself. Like when we get inspired, it happens. He goes, and then from a tour standpoint, our motto is all music can be made better with explosions and fireworks and light. And I was
Great.
like, "You're not wrong, dude." Like,
Yeah, I mean, look, that's a hell of a way to sell your live show. I mean, obviously, when you have anyone in the bigger band too. I mean, any bigger band. I mean, at least with
yeah,
me too. When I like hip hop shows, I always love when they have the band behind them. I think it sounds great, so can
yeah.
never go wrong with it.
The
Could-
Odessa, they're I guess they're technically alternative, but they're kind of more like uh techno-y, house typey vibes with an alternative feel. When they tour and do their thing, they have an entire orchestra that comes with them, which I thought was pretty cool.
Well, it's super cool. Definitely enhances
Yeah.
the show without a doubt.
Mhm.
We're hoping we're enhancing the show right now, except, well, I mean, maybe not when we're smoking Pirtle like that. Here on the Driving Dish NBA podcast. Welcome, everybody. My name is Kevin Rayfuse. Joining me, as always, my co host, Justin Kuzart.
New Orleans teachers, y'all got classroom needs list? Send them.
Okay, shout out to whoever's doing that for the New Orleans teachers. Let's see which Pelicans player do I want to go with? Let's do Brandon Ingram.
No. Do you want to guess
Okay.
again, or do you just want me to
Yeah.
give it to you?
No, no, no. Let me get one more. If I don't get it on the second one, I'll give you one more. What about Herb Jones?
Larry Nance Jr.
Okay, all right. I keep forgetting Larry Nansen. I mean, he's moved around a lot recently, but I do forget he was in the CJ trade, so he's hanging out there.
Mhm.
Super cool. Obviously, love anybody that is giving back to education. Super important. Teachers are obviously chronically underpaid in this country, and so that's cool that you can at least make their lives a little bit easier, help them bring some classroom joy to the children.
We had a kind of fundraiser thing that our stations were kind of not we weren't I wouldn't say involved in because like involved would give us too much credit in my opinion, but there was an event here in Jacksonville that was going on that we promoted that was helping teachers, back to school stuff and even for kids, backpacks and all that stuff. So we were promoting all that and this was like my week of volunteering, man. I'll tell you what, it was an emotional week with we did Carathon. You know all about Carathon
Yeah,
down
no,
here.
of course. Yeah, I saw that. Obviously, shout out to Rich and
Oh, yeah.
WOKV in Jacksonville and all the work they do with
I got
Carathon and
a
the Child Cancer Fund in Northeast Florida. Definitely a great cause if you want to contribute to something cool.
it was funny, Rich does all this amazing work, and it's his, like, baby, like, all
Oh, it's a super
year.
that's his NBA
Yeah.
finals. Like
That is
he
his
goes
Super
out
Bowl.
and it's
Yeah.
game 6 and he goes like Giannis. He just drops 50 and so gets
Yep.
the trophy and raises hundreds of thousands of dollars for kids.
And so, me, just little old me coming in to answer some phones and take some calls for a little bit. And, TV's there to help promote and all this stuff. And the reporter, who I don't know any of the reporters over there anymore because a lot of them left and changed. And so she comes up to me and she's like, I'm wearing my radio station WAPE shirt. And she's like, can we get a quick interview with you? And I was like, "Oh, sure." And so they put me on TV just talking about the event that, and I knew all the copy points obviously because it's our stations and we
Yeah,
knew what
yeah,
to
yeah.
say.
The
So
whole
I
cluster's down there too.
right, I said all the right things, and in the middle of it, she's like, "So, what we were doing is if it was $1,000 donation, you rang like a cowbell."
Yeah.
And so, Rich had saw that she had asked me to be on, and Rich is like, "You better make this like a great memorable interview." And so
No pressure.
yeah. So we're like talking to her, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she's like, "So how has it been?" I was like, "It's been great. Actually, like 5 minutes before you picked it up, I got $1,000 donation, and I'm supposed to do this." I took the kettlebell, I rang it, everyone started yelling, and
This
you
is
can
on
tell
live TV, right?
a live TV at 8 in the morning, and a bunch of my coworkers took a screenshot of me on TV with a cowbell, and so it
That's
was
right. Wake
fun.
them up. Tell them wake them up and donate.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah, it was good. And then obviously a lesser of the volunteering. I worked and I will stand by this. If you are into sports, you like watching sports, and if you're watching our podcast or listening to our podcast, you probably like sports. I'm
You at
I'm
least like
gonna
basketball,
I'm
which
gonna
is a sport.
generalize here and assume you like sports. There is nothing more electric than volunteering at the drive, chip, and putt competition for the PGA. And what it is, if you don't know what it is, I know we're a basketball podcast, so we'll get back to basketball here in a second. But what it is kids come, they do 3 drives, 3 chips, 3 putts, and they have a scoring system, and that's how you score. And then, the first one is kind of filter people out, 2 is filter people out, 3 is regional, 4 they all go to the Masters in Augusta, um, and they compete to like have a winner, right? And it's age groups. I think the oldest is 15. Like once you're 16, you're aged out. And so, dude, it for these kids, it is like the most high pressure situation they've ever been in their lives. And they're
Oh,
oh, dude, it is
trying to
like
get to the Masters.
yeah, dude, and, like, in my mind, I'm making these stories, like, I got there is a lot of tears if there's mistakes, so, like, from a kid's perspective, you can there to try to help their day or, like, get them unshook if they have a bad shot, um, but dude, like, in my mind, it's like the final shot in basketball for just 4 straight hours for these kids, and you are there witnessing it. It either is gonna crumble under them or it is going to be the best day of their lives, and either side, you're just there, and you have to hand them the ball afterwards and either say, like, "Good putt," or, like, "I'm sorry,"
Yeah,
or
you blew it, kid.
and so,
Uh,
last year 2 years ago when I did it, I was on the driving range, which was fun, but this year I was on the putting green, and the putting green is the last one they do, so they
oh,
know
so
their
it's
score.
intense. They know it. Yeah,
Oh,
they know they
they
gotta
know
make
their
some ground up.
score. Yeah, and so, like, for putting, like, if you make the putt, it's 25 points. If you're, like, within a certain amount of inches, it's 20 points, 15 points, 10 as it goes further out. And so they do a 6-foot putt, a 12-foot putt, and then a 30-foot putt. And they'll come in there knowing, like, they're in 4th place, and if they can get 3 20s or a 25, however you wanna do the math, if they could do it, they'll be in number 1, and then they whiff that 6-foot putt. Oh. It's electric,
Heartbreaking.
dude. It's heartbreaking, but it's electric. I know I sound like an asshole saying it, but, like, from a sports fan perspective, you will never get more energy out of that situation than volunteering for one of those
And they'll
things, so
hopefully appreciate it too in the long run. That's the thing is it's like you
oh,
get cool
yeah.
opportunities, especially when you're playing on courses like that. If you're a TPC
Dude,
Sawgrass and you get to
yep.
Augusta eventually, obviously, like those are
Some of
bucket
these
list items for many people.
and some of these kids are so good at golf.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh
the
yeah.
drives are like, holy cow, you're 10 years old and you're out driving anything I could ever hope to do,
Right.
like, it's crazy. So, if there is a drive, chip, and putt in your area, I would suggest volunteering. It's only a few hours out of your day, and it is highly entertaining
All
from
right.
a
Well,
selfish standpoint.
hey, there you go. At least it's entertaining for somebody, but yeah, you're definitely giving back to the kids. It's always good.
Yeah.
Leave us a review, good or bad, on iTunes. We will read them on the podcast. If you're not an Apple user, Google Play Store, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Amazon Music, Google Play, or I say Google Play Store. Did I say iHeart? Nope, didn't say iHeart or Spotify, maybe. I don't know. Either way, anywhere you find a podcast, you can find us.
And YouTube, if you wanna watch video versions of us just absolutely wrecking the, NBA Wordle like we did, you can find us. We are at subscriber number 48, which means we're looking for number 49. So if you would like to be that number, feel free to hit us up.
Yeah, there's only 2 players that have worn, 49 ever in the NBA. There's Mel McCants, who wore it, 1 year for the Lakers in 1990, and there's Shondon Anderson, who actually wore it the longest. He had it for a couple here, 4 years or 3.5 years with the Knicks, and then 1.5 years with the Heat, in '05 and '06. So there you go. You can be our Shondon Anderson of the Drive and Dish NBA podcast, and then going for that big 5-0 too. So that's always a fun one.
Mhm.
Get yourself some Zach Randolph in your life. And now a word from our sponsors.
So we come back and we jump right into Durant drama, which is still going on, and at this point, I'm kind of over it,
I'm
but
super over it, but it's just like they finally something finally happened with it. So we've been kind of avoiding it, right? Like I
right.
don't want to just, we're not gonna sit here and micro analyze every tweet, every move. Like call me when some like actual things are happening.
Well, and I would say now we are at a point where Windhorse is saying that there might actually be a holdout involved with Kevin Durant. I saw the other day a decent trade package from the 76ers. My buddy, well, I know you're up in Philly now too, but apparently the radio station's up there. There are some reporters that are very convinced that trade is going to happen. I I would be sad to see Maxey go, but we've talked about it. If you have a chance to land Kevin Durant to pair with James Harden and Joel Embiid, you got to do it. I would just be kind of bummed because I really do like Maxey. Um, the rest of the trade package, I'm like, I can swallow that pill, you know?
So I think Boston is more equipped to win now with Kevin Durant. I think with the Sixers, if you trade for KD, you have to win, or it could look really ugly in a few years. Now, I
Well,
think they're
yeah,
very well within that realm of possibility. Like, don't get it twisted. But I don't think, to put it bluntly, like, I don't think the Sixers have the best trade package available. Like, I've kind of said this the whole time, and I'm higher than a lot of people on Tyrese Maxey, like with the Homer hat on. Like, I absolutely love the kid, and I do think that
yeah.
he is, he's a foundational young piece
The
that would
kid
be the main point of any trade haul that's going to come for Kevin Durant. Like, he is worthy of being that number one guy, but between Boston and between Phoenix, I don't know. I mean, Phoenix with Bridges can really get there as well. And I just with Boston, it makes a lot of sense. Like, if you can get Tatum and you can have Marcus Smart and you can get Kevin Durant on that roster as well, like, but it's tough for them. They feel the same way about Jaylen Brown. And how can you argue with them when they just made the finals with them this past year? Only 2 wins away from bringing home a title. So
yeah.
it, I don't know. I'm interested to see if we get to the holdout phase, because I mean, this was the first salvo of ugly, right? So Kevin Durant has basically said, like, I'll come back, but you got to get rid of Sean Marks, the general manager, and you got to get rid of Steve Nash, the head coach, both of which the owners said they're not going to do. So I give credit to the owners for sticking behind their guys,
Well,
especially
because
for Sean Marks, because Sean Marks drug that franchise out of the mud and put them in a position to be able to land Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. So to sell
and
him out for KD would be extremely disappointing from just a franchise. You know, the Nets will exist long after Kevin Durant is gone. That's the point. You can't sell out that reputation, in my opinion.
Well, and I'll say that is a wild demand from a player to
Oh
make.
yeah,
And
it's
I'm sure there have been demands from players like that in the past that just haven't been like very public like this. Like I remember when we talk about LeBron wanted Spoelstra out at one point and all that, but this one feels like whoa. Like if you do what he wants, then you really do set a precedent that you have to, going forward, do every demand that he asks for, right?
Yeah, you surrender yourself. You hold yourself hostage to the franchise, and that's the thing. Like, here's the reality. Steve Nash was kind of a questionable hire. I think we all know that just because of the
Sure.
expectations. Like, Steve Nash is a bona fide NBA legend, but he's never been an NBA head coach before. And you're putting him in the ultimate pressure packed situation where, because there were expectations to win the title immediately in Brooklyn. I mean, look at where we were talking about in the preseason pods last year. It was like with Harden and Durant and Kyrie Irving, and given how you had to feel with basically, being a half a shoe size away from beating the Bucks, and maybe going to the NBA Finals against Phoenix. It's Nash was definitely a risky hire. There was no doubt about it. We all know that. So I can low key understand the frustration there. And if you want to pull the plug, like, I'm not saying it's great or ethical, but I can maybe get it there. It's not like the Heat where, Spo had the backing of the franchise and the franchise was respectable. That's the
Yeah.
thing, is where not only did they have Pat Riley, who obviously had won everything by that point, but they had won in '06. Like, they had the winning blueprint. There's a reason LeBron went down there, is to get that blueprint. You can't, it's not that you can't say that with Brooklyn yet, but you can certifiably say that Sean Marks is a good general manager, and that it feels like more often than not he's made the right call for this franchise. And again,
Mhm.
it puts them in a position, like, you have to look at where they were and to be these title contenders and to get these windows open. Brooklyn was a graveyard when Sean Marks got there. Like, they had no draft picks. They were working off that KG and Pierce trade. They had to rebuild, get all sorts of NBA young guys, whether they're on two ways, whether they were second round picks. Like, they consistently put themselves in a position to be an attractive franchise to land these two guys. That's a lot of what Sean Marks did. And so, yeah, I have probably a bad taste in my mouth if after you sign a 5-year deal, you're a year and a half into it, and now you want to get rid of the general manager who's had a proven track record of success here. Like, it is a bridge too far. And if you're Brooklyn, like, you can capitulate. Like, make no doubt about it. You could capitulate and get Kevin Durant back. And if you win a title, it's hard to argue with that. Like, I'm not saying that would be entirely wrong, but I'm saying if you want to have like any type of organizational stability and not have this reputation to kind of get bullied around by the players to an
Yeah.
extent, then yeah, I can understand why you don't fire your GM and your coach after 1 year to keep Kevin Durant.
Yeah, it's a it's an aggressive ask, and I've seen some of the responses that reporters say they should have responded to Kevin Durant with, but now we're at this spot. Like, where do you go from here? If Kevin Durant starts holding out, that's going to start to diminish his value. So if you're not going to,
See, that's the one thing I don't disagree with, or I do disagree with Justin. I don't think Kevin Durant's value goes anywhere. He's Kevin Durant. You know what it is at this point. I know he's
yeah,
getting older, but if anything, if he's not putting
but
any mileage on his tires, then he's going to be healthy.
But if you're Boston or the 76ers, just because those are the 2 that are coming out, and from either side, you're seeing that they can't really seem to get a deal done, and now Kevin Durant's holding out, it's like, "All right, well, what if we take out one piece here or there and say, look, he's becoming a locker room problem. We're still gonna give you this package, but maybe we take back a few picks or we take back, said player." Um, obviously, it wouldn't be like a Maxey or Brown type situation that you take out, but you start to lower the trade package just a tad to see how desperate they are at that point to potentially get away from it. They can still say no, obviously, but at this point, you're not. If he's not going to play, then what are you going to do? You have to do something.
You just have to beat the market. Like, that's always been
Yeah.
the thing, and obviously the market's been, like, incredibly warped when a massive 4 first-round pick trade goes down with involving Rudy Gobert. Like, because in a vacuum, yes, Kevin Durant is extremely more valuable than Rudy Gobert, but here's the other reality, like, KD is old, and you only have to outbid your competition. Like, that was always kind of
Mhm.
the argument for Miami and Phoenix too, if they wanted to get in, right? It's just like, yeah, normally, of course, in a vacuum, you would have to empty the war chest entirely. But if other teams aren't going to empty the war chest, why would you? And
Yeah.
if you're Brooklyn, it's just it's how much toxicity do you want to deal with? So Kevin Durant and his team, to me, this is the first salvo. Like, this is them saying, hey, we can make this ugly a little bit. If they decide to hold out, so be it. Obviously, Brooklyn has Ben Simmons on their team who just held out all last year. This is now no longer unprecedented. But I also struggle with Kevin Durant because and here's the thing, like, I don't know. Like, I remember how ugly it was, like, not to switch sports with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, and then it's just kind of like they sucked it up and played it, and the team was good all year. I just can't shake this feeling that that's what Kevin Durant's going to do. Is it's like, look, if Kyrie is locked back in, Brooklyn's made moves to stay competitive. Like, their depth is there. It sure feels like they can contend in the Eastern Conference if Durant is back in that lineup. Like, why not play it out one more year? I mean, certainly if they were to win a title, you would imagine that the organization would be more keen to work with Kevin Durant to get him out of there then. Like, if you've won a title, at least you can sit back and say you've accomplished a goal.
Yeah.
But I
Be
don't know.
wild. It would be wild to, from a player or team perspective, though, to go out and win the whole thing and not. I know we had it with Kawhi, but that was a different situation, in my opinion. But to just not try to run it back.
I mean, I agree, but look, if that's at least you can say there's a little bit of satisfaction there. Like, if you're
Yeah.
Durant, you feel like you did your
What would
job.
it do?
Um,
What would it do to his? I don't know if legacy is the right word, but what would it do to him? And the thoughts around him is if he does sit out the whole year and the Nets go out there and still make it to the finals or make it to the conference finals
If the
without
Nets make it
him.
to the finals without KD, that'd be wild. Like, it really would be. It
Well,
would
that's
be
what I
one of the
mean. Like,
greatest underdog stories of all time, and Kyrie would have been going bananas all year
well,
long.
but that's what I'm saying. Like, say Kyrie goes bananas and Ben Simmons' defense really comes out, and maybe Ben's able to shoot a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, what if it happened? Did you see? By the way, there's
I
a
Come on, are you still doing this when he's not even on the team anymore?
no, 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 no. But there was a video that was like, I just did the math, and Ben Simmons still has the chance to pass Steph Curry all time for the 3-point list. He just has to play some crazy. It was like some crazy amount of games, and he's like,
Right.
by 2,555, he'll pass him.
Sick. In the Futurama where it's like you got the heads at that point, and
Yeah,
then they just give him the
but
robot body.
like to that, like that would be a knock on Kevin Durant, right? If the team comes out
Of
and
course it would.
but
Do you
so
think that's
like
probable?
I don't,
I don't think it's probable at all.
but I could see him still being without Kevin Durant, that team. Where do you think they are in the standings in the East?
Play-in territory somewhere. I don't think they stink. Like, if Kyrie's healthy and everybody and the rest of the roster is there, like, they're not going to be bad.
They
But I
did,
don't think
yeah.
the East got better. Like, I'm struggling to see them get into the top 8 with
They
with
were
Dejounte Murray coming east. That boosts Atlanta.
He
I
did
think the
him and
Cavs are gonna be good again.
which, by the way, we probably could have put that in for our ballin' and fallen. I don't know if you actually do, but Dejounte Murray, like, what
Oh,
is
him
going?
and Paulo?
Yeah, like,
Oh,
what the
that's
hell?
not your balling and falling?
No, it's not, no.
Oh,
So you can
we
add
may
it.
have to pivot then. I was gonna say
Yeah.
we'll pivot and we'll get to that a little bit later then because that was crazy.
Last year they were 44 and 38. Obviously, Kevin Durant was a big part of the team going there. So if you flip Kevin Durant out and say Kyrie is there, and we assume he's able to play most of the games, I don't know. We'll see where that goes. Do they get back to that 44 wins, or are they less?
I no, I think they're less for sure. I mean, KD's the better player than
Right.
Kyrie. I don't think the depth is that much better. I mean, Ben Simmons is there, I guess. Like that, if he plays, that would certainly help them a little bit. But no, I struggle to see them winning 44 games again. And
Okay.
the conference has improved. Like I think everybody in the
Yeah.
conference is going to be bringing it largely.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, I think we already talked about it. Charlotte's a question mark. We'll see what happens there. The Knicks, maybe we'll see them improve a little bit. We already talked about the bottom, which is Orlando and Detroit. We think they're going to pop up a little bit, and
Yeah,
we'll
they're going
see.
to be competitive for sure.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how many games they're going to win necessarily, but like they're going to play hard every night, and I think they'll both be improved over last year. Like the team, I think Indy, I don't know, but Indy does have some young guys I really like. Obviously, namely with Halliburton, I'm still a big Hallie guy. Um, I will see what happens. Again, the Knicks are weird. I can see the Knicks going bad, but they also pretty much everything went wrong last year, so I'm inclined to think it'll bounce back a little bit this season.
Hmm.
But either way, I will see if he holds out. Kevin Durant's older. That's the only reason why I don't think he's going to throw title shots away. Um, and I feel
Sure.
like if he goes back and plays in Brooklyn this year, he's got a pretty good title shot. It's like if you can suck it up for 1 year, or maybe you get moved at the deadline. Like, who knows? That's the thing. The market changes all the time. Like, there are teams that are always going to be bidding, put it that way. I do think Boston still is the best fit if they can make it happen. I mean, I think any of the main teams that he's been linked to, the fit is great, but like it does feel like Boston has the team right now and the war chest to make it happen. You give up 3 firsts, you give up like Grant Williams and Jalen Brown and maybe like Robert Williams too. Listen, you're probably in business at that point.
You would, from a Nets perspective, you definitely consider it. I
I
think.
would highly consider it. I mean, I'm 150% considering it at that point.
Hmm.
But all right, let's move on to some who's balling, who's fallen. Our NBA version of the stock market, we always like start with the good before the bad. So balling for me this week is Willie Cauley Stein, who's agreed to a deal with the Houston Rockets. I mean, this is on a tryout basis, essentially. 1 year deal, but he's going to be competing for a roster spot in training camp. Obviously, this is far from a guarantee. They've got Boban on the roster now, who they haven't bought out yet. Obviously, Jabari Smith is going to be playing a lot of four, and they've got Şengün. They're pretty invested in his development as they should be at five. So at that point, like he will be fighting for minutes, but he'll have a chance to earn a spot on this roster, maybe the two or maybe the number three big.
So my ballin is actually going to go to Orlando because I know we're eventually going to go Orlando with our fallen. Somehow we'll get there. We'll make it happen. But my ballin is going to go out to Jonathan Isaac, who is set to make 17 mil next season. He is Orlando's highest paid player, and he hasn't played a game since August of 2020. Markel Fultz is number two, if anybody's wondering. And Jonathan Isaac's last game in the NBA was August 2nd of
So
2022.
Well, so and the way Magic fans are treating him is he's like the icing on the cake at this
Yeah,
point. I mean, obviously everyone would love Jonathan Isaac to come back. He's been super great when he's been healthy. He just hasn't been healthy in about 2.5 years now.
right.
So it is. I mean, it feels like he's more of a concept than an actual player. Obviously, I mean, he would radically raise the Magic ceiling if he were to come in and just be healthy and be old Jonathan Isaac at this point. I mean, a guy who looked like he could be one of the better defenders in the entire league, whose offensive game was really starting to come around too. I was encouraged a little bit that he was at summer league with them, because that's the thing is we kind of haven't seen him in the public. And I mean, Markel Fultz tore his ACL after Jonathan Isaac got hurt again in the bubble. And we've already seen Fultz come back and play, and we haven't seen
Mhm.
Isaac, like you said. So, I mean, the contract, he's owed a lot of money. Now, granted, his contract and the Magic smartly filled it with a ton of injury incentives. But yeah, that's an interesting situation there. Um, I with them paying the most, like, that's the thing is because they're younger, it's not really a big deal.
Right.
That contract is gonna be tough in the later years, but again, it's filled with a lot of incentives, so a lot of that money isn't guaranteed. I hope he comes back again, just as, I may not live in Orlando anymore, but I obviously love the place. I'm rooting for the franchise just to get back to relevance here a little bit,
Agreed.
play some more meaningful games. And I think they're going to do that regardless of Jonathan Isaac. But again, Jonathan Isaac would just speed that timeline up a whole lot faster. So my fallen originally, and I guess I'll just say this is more of a note at this point, is that it was going to be the unvaccinated players in Toronto next year because they can't play there still. It
Oh,
doesn't
okay.
look like as of now, at least again, this is a government policy from Canada. Is always liable to change. But as of right now, it does not look like unvaccinated players are going to be able to travel and go over the border. I mean, we're already seeing it right now with baseball. A lot of teams are going up to play the Blue Jays. And yeah, if you're unvaccinated, you can't cross and you can't play. 97% of the league is vaccinated, so that this isn't really going to affect a large number of players. But yeah, there is a number of players it's going to affect. We saw that last year. Obviously, that was a factor, notably for the Eastern Conference. Toronto only ended up going one round, but the Sixers didn't have a Matisse Thybulle when they were in when they were in games in Toronto. That was, people were concerned about that as they go on. And Toronto, as we expect to be in the mix again for another playoff spot this year, that could factor in as well. If they're in a play-in game and say they're hosting a play-in game and you have guys that can't go in Toronto and it's a one and done situation, like that is something that is going to be there. But no, we'll pivot to the fallen. Which is this just random beef, seemingly between Paulo Banchero and Dejounte Murray. They were, playing at a pro-am game together, and Murray just was talking about him being disrespectful. And basically, there was a clip of him saying, like, it's a grown man's league, and he was just cursing at him and doing all this stuff. And it's like, yo, what
Yeah.
happened? Joking about how, they were saying, oh, they came to see Paulo. And, Banchero was on Instagram saying, he unfollowed me and everything. Like, are you serious? Like, what
Yeah.
is going on right now? And then Murray really just went off. I mean, he was going crazy. He said he was going to blow Paulo Banchero's back out, which I was like, Johnson, I don't know if that's what you're going for right there,
Like,
but
homie, homie,
yeah, I don't
chill.
know. I haven't heard that in basketball in quite a while, but
Yeah.
yeah, it just seemingly so random. And for it to just escalate like that kind of quickly. I mean, on the other hand, I didn't expect Magic and Hawks games to be must-see TV this year, but I'll tell you what, I'm really intrigued for that first matchup.
We're gonna talk about NBA Christmas Day games and stuff like that coming up. I almost want to throw that in there just because
Yeah,
of
it's
that
like
now.
the most random beef of all time. And I mean, look, if everybody, there are a lot of people who say the league's too buddy buddy. I'll tell you what, it doesn't look like these two are too buddy buddy right now. But
They're not getting invited to birthday parties
no,
or they're not hanging out after games when
yeah,
they
they're not
play
going to
against each
live
other.
together when they're in Miami.
Right.
No, I don't know what that was just crazy though. Just so random. The randomness of it
Yeah.
to me is the fallen for sure.
So my fallen is gonna be whoever you pick out of these two. So so here we go.
Okay.
Um, so someone asked the question, do you rank higher all time? Which is always a fun one to get into.
Oh boy.
Both of these players missed out on making the NBA top 75, so we'll start with that. The first player is four-time NBA champion, five-time NBA All-Star, two-time All-NBA third team, and NBA All-Defensive second team in 2019, Klay Thompson, compared to four-time NBA champion, two-time NBA All-Star, two-time All-NBA third team, and NBA Sixth Man of the Year in 2008, Manu Ginobili.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, okay. Um Man, Manu's had so much longevity, and it's funny with Clay because Clay too had it. Like that's what's
He
crazy is
did
with
get
Clay
yeah,
being injured. Like Clay was never an injury-prone guy. Like he was
yeah,
more of an Iron Man. It was quite the opposite. And then just two back-to-back devastating injuries. It's tough for me because Manu just played for so long. Like he really played deep into his 30s.
yeah.
I mean,
We
how
haven't
old was he
seen
when he
and here's the
retired?
thing is here is, I'll have to look that up, but here's the other thing too,
I'll
is
pull
I
that
would
up
say,
real
like,
quick.
you almost have to put an asterisk on it, right? Like, Clay's not done, like, we're still going with Clay.
Yeah, I mean, he could definitely for sure. I mean, see him picking up another ring before this is all said and done the way things are going. Now Ginobili has the other factor in the sense that he's an international icon.
Yes,
I mean, with
yes,
what he's done with Argentina, with the Olympic golds, but obviously Clay's had a ton of success on that front as well. And like people love Clay. He's one of the most beloved dudes off the court. He was Ginobili was 40 when he retired. He
okay.
played 3 years in Italy, and then he was obviously played his whole season with the Spurs. I'm inclined to say it's Clay. He's in that Splash Bros. Like he's a part of one of the better duos in NBA history. He was a part of a team that won 73 games, has won now 4 titles. Like it because they both have the dynasty factor, right? But Manu wasn't
Yeah.
there for all of it. Like he kind of missed the front. Clay was there for all 4 of it. Like Ginobili missed 99 and '03.
Mhm.
He
No,
kind of factored.
he was there for '03. At least according to the stat that I have here. They said he was a champion
Oh,
in
he was, you're right.
'03,
He was a
'05,
rookie in
'07,
'03.
and
Yeah,
14.
nope, you're right. He was a rookie in '03. But yeah, he okay, so he only missed the 99 one, but in that sense, Clay was there for all of them. But Manu also got the 4th on the back end, of course, with getting
Mhm.
the late one in 2014. I, I I think Clay's game is going to transition well. I also think Clay at his peak was probably a little bit higher than Ginobili was. I'm fine with both of these guys not being NBA 75 guys. I think they're right on the fence. I think they're both Hall of Famers without a
Yeah.
doubt. I mean Ginobili's already in it, but yeah, I think I'm leaning Clay right now.
I think, Manu having the 6 man's interesting, uh, and could be an arguing point, but I wanna see the problem is I just wanna see Clay's stats once he's done. Like, we could have more championship numbers on this list. We could have more NBA All-Stars on this list, maybe even third teams, and, maybe, uh, another award down the line, who knows? But we just gotta see it once it's done. It's kinda hard to compare a guy who's already retired to a guy who still was kinda going, and we're gonna probably see some more of him. So, uh, that's kinda my thoughts with it, is we just kinda need to chill and wait and see what happens once his career's done. Then maybe we go back and check it, and maybe Clay does have more of the, award stats that we're looking at right here. So,
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Like, I mean, I do think Clay is declining. Like, I think his defense in particular is sliding a little bit as he gets older. Like, I think the injury wear is there. Obviously, he's going to be a great shooter, and that's going to prolong his career. But like, it just doesn't matter with the Warriors too. Like, he's in the perfect system to succeed. They won a
yeah.
title last year, and I think he also like we forget that he only came back like he only played half a season last year. Like now he in theory has a full summer to put that work back in. So we very well could see Clay bounce back too. Um, but yeah, I'm kind of with you as well. We'll see what happens.
Mhm.
But sticking with the Warriors, we're starting to get a little bit of the NBA. We're getting closer and closer to training camp. Still here in August, but we're creeping towards the start of that. Starting to get a little bit of an idea what the schedule is going to look like, and we should get the full slate of Christmas games later this week. We'll get to that in a sec, but first, it looks like the opener is going to be Lakers Warriors. Of course, the Warriors will be getting their rings that night. The Lakers will have LeBron. They'll have Anthony Davis ideally back and in the lineup, healthy, good to go. Russ is there. They're running it back. Obviously, you could see why they're doing that from the West Coast perspective. The Lakers
Yeah.
will always get that bias. I am intrigued to see Anthony Davis, so that's the thing. I know everyone wants to dump on this right away because the Lakers were so bad last year, but I do want to see AD, so I'm fine with this. Obviously, the Warriors are the defending champs. It's a no-brainer. I think it would have been a no-brainer anyway, but
Yeah, I think it's totally cool having the Warriors in it. I do question the Lakers ad a little bit because 'cause I'd rather see one of the better teams from last year also in it, you know? Um, if you're going full West Coast, then have them go up against Phoenix or something, where we know these guys are gonna eventually be competing in the playoffs, potentially against each other, depending on how things work out. Um, so part of me wanted to see that a little bit or potentially get there. But I also understand the intrigue of having LeBron, having AD back, having the Lakers go at it with the Warriors. I'm cool with it. I don't hate it, but the competition for the Warriors or team wise, name wise from last year, I think could have been a better team pick somewhere along the line. Like maybe, hey, why not have? I know we're going to see it as a Christmas game, so maybe that's why not, and we'll get to that. But maybe have it be a young and upcoming team like the Grizzlies, with John Morant, feature that right off the rip, because, they seem pretty hyped to be playing each other on Christmas, which is,
Yeah. Well, I
you
mean, this is
know
the matchup we wanted. I mean, and Ja and Dre, just in case anyone thought this was really that serious, we're saying, hey, we this is what we wanted. We've been
yeah.
asking the league for it. We're here. We got this matchup. It's a great rivalry. We saw obviously Chippy was the understatement of the century last year
Mhm.
with the Warriors and the Grizzlies. So yeah, I'm super excited for that Christmas matchup. Like that's what we wanted. Hopefully Jaren Jackson will be back by then. I think that's a hard TBD. Like I think that's going to be right around the time we might see him.
Yeah.
Obviously want to see these two teams at their peaks, but yeah, that's exactly the type of Christmas game I'm looking for. Obviously, Memphis, young and upcoming, tons of star power, namely with Ja Morant. But a successful team, the Warriors, the defending champs, like it good, 1 for 5 so far, NBA. Like that's a good start.
Yeah, and so, from other tweets that have been going around, something that was pointed out, Christmas Day, NBA is gonna be competing with the NFL for the first time in a few years,
Yeah.
because it's gonna be on a Sunday, so that will be interesting in terms of a ratings pool and how that goes.
Oh,
I don't.
NFL's gonna win. Like, let's be
Right.
honest. Like, I'm not
And
even gonna
I just
try on this show. Like, the NFL is king in America. It
I
rules. Whoever, I mean, I think there are gonna be a lot of people watching NBA, and the NBA is on the whole day. Like the NFL
yeah,
games. I mean, when the Eagles played
afternoon.
on Christmas a couple years ago, it was a later game. I think it was like an 8 o'clock. But
Well, and I'll say this, I the reason I brought it up more is because you'll have the NBA naysayers that'll go and find the ratings for Christmas Day and be like, "Oh, NBA pulled a whatever share and NFL pulled this,"
no,
like,
it has
that's what
nothing
they'll
to do
do.
with politics. It has everything to do with the fact that everyone watches the NFL. The NFL out broadcasts everything. It had
Yeah,
47 of the top 50 broadcasts television wise from a ratings perspective in America in 2019 and
yeah,
2020. Like the NFL is king. It doesn't matter how big you think baseball is, how big you think basketball
everything.
is. And I would argue basketball has way more global appeal than the NFL does. But like in America, don't get it twisted ever.
Well, and they're trying, NFL's trying to branch out. That's why we have those London games and all that stuff going on.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, they're let me tell you, they love them happening all the time, the
oh, yeah.
Jaguars fans.
Oh, yeah, they do. Well, so, either
Well,
way,
you're
so the
robbed, like, they should get
yeah.
money back. This is a whole different topic. They do, they lose a home game a year. They should get their season tickets knocked off a little bit.
I agree. But that is neither here or
You
there.
work in Jacksonville, I would say you gotta tread lightly, I get it.
Yeah.
I'm free now.
The other side of things, for Christmas Day, we already said Grizz, against the Warriors. We also have LeBron again, with the Lakers being featured against Dallas and Luca. I don't mind the Luca move. Again, the Lakers one that people are gonna hate on because of the
Well, they
pick.
might stink by then. That's the thing is like we're gonna get an idea 3 months. If the
Right.
Lakers are playing great, nobody should hate on this. I mean,
Sure.
you get the. It's weird because all the early LeBron Luca matchups have just been really good. Like they're
Right.
both Western Conference teams, so I don't want to say it's a random rivalry necessarily, but it's not one that jumps off the page. It would be kind of
Give me
like
like I would prefer to me, I'd prefer like again, maybe this is just because like we're deeper in the NBA love than an average fan, but give me like Mavs Nuggets. Give me Sixers Bucks. Give me
well,
wherever KD is if he's playing versus some team that was rumored in the trades or KD against wherever Kyrie goes. Give me that matchup too if they trade him. You know
Well,
what I
so
mean?
if you've got so you got Lakers and Mavericks will be one of the West games. You've got
Mhm.
Warriors Grizz is one of the West games. And then obviously, I mean, depending how they slate the times, I think the Nuggets could be that late game. Like I think that maybe that's
Good,
where they
yeah.
sneak in if they want to have one of the West games. Do like a because that's when they kind of take their chances and they'll feature maybe somebody that's a little younger. Like I could see New Orleans being featured there.
Give
Portland is a
me
classic there because
wait,
they're
wait,
on
wait, wait,
West
wait.
Coast time with Dame.
Morning game. Give me Orlando versus Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, I would love Orlando versus
Or
Detroit if we really want to
yeah,
get in the NBA nerd woods,
yeah,
but like I think we're probably alone on that.
yeah, yeah.
No, give me. I would love to see a Boston and Bucks matchup just because. Now I want to see Bucks at full strength. Like I think that's what we
Sure.
missed last year. I think in Milwaukee they feel like they would have had a better chance. Obviously, Boston wants to prove that they're going to be on a mission to run it back this year. I maybe Phoenix gets in here somewhere. I feel like they probably should be.
Heat
Um,
Phoenix?
Heat Phoenix. If they, I'll tell you what, if they want to do an interesting matchup, and again, my homer hat's going to be on, but if you want your 5 o'clock matchup and you want a West Coast team and you want an Eastern team, do Sixers and Nuggets. Give me an Embiid and Jokic
Oh
matchup on
yeah, give us a
Christmas.
big showdown. That'd be
Little big
fun.
game, because in the Eastern games you could have Boston play Milwaukee.
You got to do
I
you
would
got
love to
to
see like a Miami Atlanta, maybe like Miami could be
or
there,
hold
or
on. Do Jimmy versus old. I know it's kind of been a while, but Jimmy versus old team Timberwolves Heat. You can feature the new look Timberwolves.
yeah, that'd be interesting if they want to stoke the Jimmy fire. It makes sense. I'm
Yeah,
not entirely wrong. Minnesota's a good candidate. Like there's somebody, if they do a West Coast game at night, that I think could
yeah,
definitely be featured as well.
be
Like
fun.
I want to see teams though. I mean, I look, don't get me wrong. I love the first one with the Grizzlies and the Warriors. I'm super fine with Dallas being there. Luka's a young star. Like they made the conference finals last year. Of course, I'm going to groan with the Lakers. I understand that's the business at this point. I think the only other two guarantees that we see on Christmas are Boston and I think Milwaukee. I think they're going to want Giannis somewhere. And I
Yeah.
think Boston, having gone to the finals last year, being a legacy franchise, get there somewhere. Yeah, it depends where KD is. If KD's still in Brooklyn, you would imagine they get in. But if he's holding out, obviously that makes it kind of wild.
Yeah, it's
Um,
kind of hard from a scheduling standpoint. Like you don't want to put the Nets in it if he's holding out,
no,
and
not
then
at
you don't
all.
get
And
to
it is a
feature him.
wild card. It really is. Like,
Yeah,
uh, I think if you're going to go safe, go Miami. Go, in the East, Miami's safer, Philly's safer. Even like a
yeah.
Chicago is safer. If you want to go
Chicago's a
somebody
good
young
fun.
and up and coming, maybe go Cleveland. I think Atlanta has a lot of star power if they want, because Miami Atlanta is a good Southeast matchup. Like I could see them doing that as well.
Yeah, I that would be a good one. I feel like I want Miami in there because I feel like they're gonna try to run it back as well. Um, and they were obviously the best team in the East last year, so you kind of want to feature that if you're gonna do it. But um, I it just I don't think they can really go wrong. I wonder what it looks like. And obviously, I think you said we'll find out later this week. They're going to announce it officially. Is that how that works?
Yeah, I think end of the week. I don't know exactly when it's supposed to come out, but I believe we're recording this on a Sunday. So by next episode, hopefully it should be
We
out
have
in
an idea.
full. And so we'll be talking about that a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, stay tuned for that. Thank you everybody for listening to this episode of the Driving Dish NBA podcast. A little bit of house cleaning. Justin will be off next week. You will be stuck with me and a guest. So stay tuned to see who I round up. Hopefully, like I said, we'll have some Christmas Day to talk about. We'll have who's balling, who's falling, of course, as always. But again, you can find us anywhere you find a podcast: Apple Music, Google Play Store, Spreaker, Spotify, Amazon Music. Yeah, I said Spreaker,
Mhm.
iHeart, Spotify, TuneIn. Yeah, anywhere you find a podcast, we're there.
And follow us on YouTube. That's where you can watch a video version of the podcast. And yeah, like Kevin said, we'll be back. And I will not be back next time. I'll be drunk in Jackson Hole.
Holy, whoa, wait, what? I forgot that for a second, and you had told me that, but you just dropped two. I mean, the Coldplay flex is crazy, but that's a insane bomb to end on. He's in Jackson Hole.
Yeah,
Wow.
gonna be touring Yellowstone. Apparently, there's a really cool bar out there. So if you have any Jackson Hole suggestions, hit me up because we'll be out there for a few days.
Yeah, you want to take me?
You can join. It's actually you'd probably hate it. It's like it's a bachelor party thing. There's like 50 of us going. It feels like.
I don't care. I'll go frolic in Yellowstone. I'll care. Catch me watching geysers and looking for moose, dude.
Right? I'm actually low key scared of the moose and the buffalo. Like I've seen too many people get injured from that,
Oh,
so I'm a
bro, don't go
little.
near them. Don't try to pet them. Then
I
yeah.
mean, they're kind of big. They
No,
kind
they're
of go
big.
where they
No,
want.
kind of. Yeah, ain't no kind of. That thing is huge. Moose is way bigger than your SUV or whatever you're driving.
Right. So there we go. All right, we'll be back.